Well, welcome to Module 6, the final module of your program. This week will be relatively light. We're just going to do a couple of reflection pieces. You'll do a kind of a reflection discussion this week. Also in RAD 401, which is kind of the companion course with this course, you'll have your final reflection paper due. Remember to get everything done by Sunday at midnight, because of course the course will be closing forever at that point. So whatever's not done has to be done. As long as you pretty much have all of your assignments in, you should be all set. And I think all of you do at this point have everything in. So just make sure to get that final reflection paper done and your discussion requirements for this week. I also wanted to spend a few moments just to talk about your discussion last week on some of the soft skills. I think it's very important that these soft skills, that there's an awareness of them out there. In higher education, we really don't teach these soft skills. And I haven't seen any curriculum out there where these things are emphasized. And they can be kind of sensitive issues too. So I can see where education steers away from them in some ways. Of course, let's pick on communication. All of you in your writings, which is great. You all said that communication was a strong suit, which is probably the most important soft skill. Also, the ability to work with others. Let's face it. None of us want to work with a jerk or an a-hole at work. And that person, you don't want to be that person. And being able to work well with others is great. I was even talking to a manager once, and they told me during the interview that is actually a question they ask is, they actually phrase it like that. Are you an a-hole to work with? And, it kind of puts the interviewee at a little bit of a shock, if you will. And they kind of see how they respond to that, but also may kind of relax them a little bit too, and maybe lighten it up. But and they didn't use the word; they used the full word. So, but I thought that was kind of unique, and that's really what it comes down to. A supervisor doesn't want a difficult employee, and they don't want an employee who's going to bring drama and stir up things within the department. So being a team player is very critical. But yes, I think these soft skills go under the radar until it one, destroys somebody's career, or two, prevents them from having a career, and they don't know why they're not going in the right direction. And it's more often than not are these soft skills that are preventing them to move forward. In higher education, we do address things like communication, but some of these other soft skills are kind of more fuzzy, and hard, I think, for higher education to embrace. So I think we should. And somewhere down the road, I would love to incorporate more study, more exercises in this for students. But this is just our little experiment in it now. I would highly encourage you, many of you, I know it's hard to self-reflect and say, what am I deficient in? I know that I think all three of you kind of echoed sometimes that self-confidence can be a problem, and that's true for all of us, having that self-confidence. And then it becomes kind of a fine line between, we've all run across the person who's overly confident, or the cocky person who's just, almost bullying their way through their career. A lot of those people eventually get found out, and, their careers reach a certain plateau, or they don't get to certain objectives. I think it is kind of a fine line between overconfidence and cockiness, and at least promoting yourself as someone that can get the job done. I do believe that you do need to do that to some extent. You do have to promote yourself, because in the busyness and things that are going on with maybe with your supervisor, they may not hear that. And if you're the greatest worker in the world on second shift, but they don't know all the things that you've done, that you've implemented within the department, then does it really happen? It's kind of, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it actually happen? Of course, yes, your patients benefit from it, and that is ultimately what's most important, but you also want to have, there's some benefit for you too in your career and your professional satisfaction. So please don't be bashful to kind of toot your own horn. I also do self-reflection on soft skills. And for me, the two that I've struggled with all my life are the tooting my own horn, or that, bringing that up. I found that that I actually have to do, in my case, I've had to do that in order to get advancement. I've learned not to be cocky, not to be overly do it, kind of promise what you can do, hopefully over deliver as well. So you kind of hold a little bit back and over deliver on them. So that's one thing that I've struggled with as well. The other one for me, and kind of, in self-reflection, is, and I don't think some of you talked about this particular soft skill. And I know I gave you a menu of soft skills. There's so many of them out there. But for me, networking and kind of those human connections that you leverage for advancement, I've never really was good at. And it's only in the past 15 years or so, 10 years, have I kind of used those skills. So it's hard when you look at them, but at least recognizing maybe areas that you're really good in so you can promote that. And then also, if you do have some issues with, networking and items like that, I myself am generally a kind of an introspective person, what's called an introvert. If you were to scale me in a psychological test, I scale as an introvert, which, isn't bad, because some of us are extroverts and some of us are introverts. And I think that natural inclination for me not to necessarily draw upon all those human connections, but knowing what those weaknesses are for ourselves and addressing those, and not necessarily faking it to be somebody else that we're not, but kind of learning how to use what we have and kind of tailoring it to who we are to get what we need to get done. So great exercise. I'm glad you guys had some really good dialogue, especially back and forth. That was just awesome about some things. Also, there was a comment about physicians and how they can be kind of negative. Of course, that it's in healthcare everywhere, and I have my own ideas about why that happens. I think sometimes people who have power, and physicians do have power within our healthcare system, when they're in that position, sometimes I don't think they have the normal emotional checks that we do when we're among peers. It's kind of like, if you want to find out what their real character is, you put them in a position of power and you kind of find out, who they, really are. I think part of that is to play, because there are many wonderful physicians, and most of them are. But I think those that kind of abuse and take advantage of those powers or berate, they're sitting there berating a tech, just because, hey, I'm a physician, I got 20 years education and, blah, blah, blah. No, you're two human beings, and you kind of don't do that to another human being. So I think that's part of it. The other part, so I'll give physicians that do this, I'll give them a little bit of an out. I think because they are under, in some instances, extreme stress, it is a completely unnatural thing to cut into a human body, and the amount of responsibility on them is very stressful. So I think that comes into play as well. So we just have to deal with them. I think it was Aaron had some good comments about, you just kind of nod and move forward and don't let them get to you. If you empower someone to affect you, that's what I always tell my wife, don't empower others to affect you. And if you've done that, then they've kind of won. So if they are putting their bad mood or their attitudes, so try to let it roll off, create that circular zone around yourself and just smile and go, something, I'm smiling at you and I'm nodding, but something, you're not going to affect me. Doesn't work all the time, but that's the attitude that I do try to take. So great conversations on those soft skills. If you ever need, the internet is a good resource for help. If you're looking for that, I've read many books to address my own shortcomings and soft skills. They are out there. We just don't really necessarily teach them in higher ed. So maybe someday. Just kind of looking at my notes here. So great conversations. And that is pretty much it for this week. I haven't heard any news about Erica and her baby boy. So I pray everything went well. I know she had a scheduled C-section on Tuesday. So, I said, just if you can, try to report, just send me a quick email before the end of the 6 weeks so we can just know how everything went. So as soon as I get that email, I'll let you guys know. So other than that, have a great week. Check your course news again a couple times throughout the week for any updates that might be coming up. And if you do have any questions in this final week, of course, don't hesitate to contact me. Have a great week, and thank you for watching.